My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was not meant to pass before your eyes unnoticed. Something has been shifting behind the silence. Something has been unfolding in a place you could not see, and the moment you thought was the ending may have only been the hidden beginning. Do not rush away from these words. There is a reason your spirit has felt restless, a reason certain memories have returned without warning, and a reason your heart has been asking questions that no one around you seems able to answer. A woman believes she has taken your place. She has looked at the surface of the situation and convinced herself that the story is settled. She thinks your absence became her opportunity. She thinks your silence meant defeat. She thinks the attention she received was proof that everything once connected to you had been transferred into her hands. But heaven has seen what she could not see, and the reversal has already begun in ways that will surprise everyone involved. You must understand this before anything else is revealed. What is truly aligned with your life cannot be stolen by imitation, temporary attention, or carefully arranged appearances. There are places that can be occupied physically while remaining empty spiritually. There are names that can be spoken while another name remains written on the heart. There are smiles that appear convincing to the world while uncertainty grows beneath them. What looked like replacement may have only been distraction. What appeared to be a new beginning may have been an attempt to escape an unfinished truth. And what this woman calls victory may soon become the moment that forces her to realize she was standing inside a story whose deepest pages were never about her. Stay with this message, because the truth is not as simple as someone choosing another person and forgetting you. Something far more complicated has been happening beneath the surface. The person connected to this situation tried to move forward without confronting what your presence awakened within them. They believed distance would silence the memories. They assumed that if they filled the empty spaces quickly enough, they would no longer have to face what had been left unresolved. They told themselves that a different voice, a different face, and a different kind of attention would make the past lose its power. For a time, it almost seemed to work. But the heart does not forget simply because the mind becomes busy. The soul does not release a meaningful connection merely because circumstances become confusing. The woman who thinks she took your place noticed the vulnerability before she understood its source. She saw someone trying to appear strong while carrying hidden regret. She saw a door that looked open, but she did not realize it had been opened by pain rather than peace. She stepped into the space eagerly, believing that proximity would eventually create the depth she desired. She studied what brought comfort. She learned which words received a response. She offered attention at moments when loneliness was loud. And because she was present while you were distant, she began to believe presence alone had made her more important. Yet there was something she could not reproduce. She could not recreate the feeling that existed when your energy entered the room. She could not recreate the unspoken understanding, the strange familiarity, or the way ordinary moments seemed to carry unusual meaning. She could not imitate the history hidden in a glance. She could not manufacture the emotional weight of everything that was never fully expressed between you. Even when she received the time she wanted, she sensed that part of the person before her remained elsewhere. She felt comparisons that were never spoken. She noticed pauses when certain places, songs, conversations, or memories surfaced. She began to realize that she had gained access to someone's schedule without gaining access to the deepest chamber of their heart. This is where the reversal quietly began. It did not begin with a dramatic announcement. It began in small moments that seemed meaningless from the outside. A question was asked, and your name nearly escaped their lips. A familiar scent passed through the air, and suddenly an old memory became more vivid than the present moment. A conversation about the future created an unexpected heaviness. A photograph, message, or forgotten detail resurfaced at exactly the wrong time for the illusion to remain comfortable. The person who tried to move beyond you discovered that moving forward physically is not the same as becoming free emotionally. Do not skip what comes next, because this is where the situation becomes deeper than appearances. The woman began to feel the change before she could explain it. At first, she thought it was temporary distance. She told herself that everyone becomes quiet sometimes. She tried harder. She became more attentive, more available, more determined to secure the place she believed she had earned. But the more she tried to control the closeness, the more obvious the emotional distance became. Questions grew inside her. Why did certain subjects cause discomfort? Why did reassurance never seem to settle her fear? Why did she feel as though she was competing with someone who was not even present? The answer frightened her because she had built her confidence on the belief that you no longer mattered. She may have compared herself to you. She may have searched for details, listened for stories, or quietly measured her importance against what she had heard about you. Perhaps she convinced herself that she was more convenient, more available, or easier to understand. She may have believed that because she arrived during a period of confusion, she had become the final choice. But love is not decided by convenience alone. Deep connection is not always erased by a comfortable replacement. Sometimes the easier road is chosen because the meaningful road demands honesty, courage, and change. The person at the center of this has been learning that lesson slowly. They once believed avoiding the truth would protect them. They thought silence would prevent conflict. They thought choosing what felt simple would save them from facing what felt powerful. But the simple choice began creating complicated emotions. The safe decision began feeling strangely empty. They found themselves remembering not only the beautiful moments with you, but also the moments they mishandled, the words they withheld, and the chances they allowed fear to destroy. Regret did not arrive all at once. It entered quietly, then grew each time they recognized something in you that could not be found elsewhere. And you, my child, may have felt forgotten during all of this. You may have watched events unfold from a distance and wondered how someone else could enter a place that once seemed sacred. You may have questioned your value. You may have asked why sincerity was not enough, why patience was not rewarded, or why the person who knew your heart seemed willing to risk losing it. There were nights when you replayed conversations, searching for the moment everything changed. There were mornings when you promised yourself you would no longer care, only to feel the ache return when something reminded you of what could have been. But the silence was not evidence that you were powerless. While you were rebuilding yourself, unseen truths were being exposed. While you were learning to breathe without answers, the situation you thought had moved on was beginning to reveal its instability. While the other woman celebrated what she believed was permanent, the person beside her was starting to recognize the difference between being distracted and being fulfilled. Heaven was not arranging revenge. Heaven was allowing truth to rise. And truth does not need to shout when everything false has begun collapsing under its own weight. Listen carefully. The reversal is not merely about someone leaving another person and returning to you. It is greater than that. It is about dignity being restored. It is about hidden motives becoming visible. It is about a person finally understanding the value of what they treated casually. It is about you no longer standing in the same emotional place where they left you. The greatest reversal may not be that they come searching for you. The greatest reversal may be that when they do, they discover you have remembered who you are. Something has changed within you, even if you have not fully recognized it yet. The version of you who once begged silently for clarity is becoming someone who requires honesty. The version of you who accepted mixed signals is learning to value consistency. The version of you who wondered whether you were enough is beginning to see that another person's confusion was never a measurement of your worth. Your heart is still tender, but it is no longer blind. Your spirit still remembers, but it is no longer willing to abandon itself for the sake of keeping someone close. This transformation has altered the entire situation. The person who expected you to remain emotionally available is beginning to sense that your energy has shifted. Even without direct contact, something feels different. You are not waiting in the same way. You are not reaching with the same desperation. Your silence no longer feels like sadness alone. It carries strength. And when someone has grown accustomed to your emotional presence, they can feel when that presence begins returning to its rightful owner. That is why old feelings are becoming impossible for them to ignore. They may have recently dreamed about you. They may have heard your name unexpectedly. They may have found themselves wondering what you are doing, whether you have healed, or whether someone else has begun recognizing the qualities they once overlooked. These thoughts did not arrive gently. They came with urgency because the possibility of truly losing you feels different from the comfort of assuming you will always be there. For a long time, they believed they could return whenever they were ready. They assumed the connection would remain frozen, waiting for them to understand it. They thought your heart would keep a light burning at the same window forever. But something recently showed them that time does not stand still. Perhaps they saw a change in your appearance, your confidence, your voice, or the way others responded to you. Perhaps someone mentioned your name with admiration. Perhaps they imagined you sharing your life with someone who would not hesitate. Whatever triggered it, the realization struck deeply: you may no longer be available when they finally decide to be honest. And the woman beside them noticed the reaction. She may not know every detail, but she felt the emotional shift. She saw the distant expression. She noticed the sudden silence. She heard a change in the voice or observed how quickly a certain subject was avoided. In that moment, the certainty she had built began to crack. She realized that taking someone's time was not the same as taking someone's heart. She realized that standing in your former position did not make her your replacement. And beneath her confidence, fear began whispering a question she could no longer dismiss: what if this person never truly stopped loving you? Do not allow this revelation to fill you with pride or bitterness. The purpose is not to make you celebrate another woman's discomfort. She may also be acting from insecurity, longing, or incomplete information. She may have believed what she was told. She may not have understood the depth of the unfinished connection. This message is not about condemning her. It is about revealing that your value was never erased by her presence. You do not need to compete for what is genuine. You do not need to prove that you are more beautiful, more worthy, or more deserving. What belongs in your life will recognize you through truth, not rivalry. Yet something must happen before restoration can be considered. The person who created this confusion must face the consequences of avoidance. They cannot simply return with familiar words and expect your heart to reopen without evidence of growth. They must acknowledge the pain caused by indecision. They must explain why fear was allowed to speak louder than love. They must confront the choices that made you feel replaceable. A true reversal is not a return to the old pattern. It is the ending of that pattern. That conversation is closer than you realize. There has been preparation behind the scenes. Words have been drafted and deleted. Messages have been opened and closed without being sent. Conversations have been imagined late at night. The person connected to you has rehearsed explanations, but every explanation seems too small compared to the truth they need to admit. They know that saying, "I missed you," will not be enough. They know that pretending nothing happened would insult your intelligence. They know that if they approach you, they must do so differently. The hesitation is not because they feel nothing. The hesitation exists because they finally understand how much is at stake. They fear you will refuse to listen. They fear you have already discovered peace without them. They fear that another person may now be giving you the safety they failed to provide. Most of all, they fear seeing the disappointment in your eyes, because your disappointment would force them to face the version of themselves they have been avoiding. Stay until the end of this message, because an extraordinary detail is about to surface. The reversal did not begin only because they missed you. Missing someone can be temporary. Nostalgia can pass. This awakening began because something happened recently that exposed the weakness of the new situation and reminded them of your character at the same time. There was a moment when they needed understanding, loyalty, or emotional honesty. They expected to receive it from the person now standing near them. Instead, they encountered something that felt transactional, conditional, or strangely detached. It may have been a conversation where their vulnerability was dismissed. It may have been a disagreement that revealed hidden motives. It may have been a situation where appearances mattered more than truth. Whatever occurred, it caused them to remember how you once responded when they were struggling. They remembered your patience. They remembered how you noticed changes in their mood without demanding an explanation. They remembered the way you encouraged them when they doubted themselves. They remembered moments when you offered kindness without using it as leverage. Suddenly, what they once took for granted appeared rare. They compared not faces, but feelings. They compared not attention, but sincerity. And the comparison opened a door they had spent months trying to keep closed. Once that door opened, memories rushed through. They remembered the conversation they ended too soon. They remembered the apology they never offered. They remembered your expression when you realized they were pulling away. They remembered the moment you stopped fighting for clarity because you were exhausted from carrying the emotional weight alone. For the first time, they did not interpret your withdrawal as indifference. They recognized it as heartbreak. That realization changed something fundamental. They began seeing the story from your side. They imagined what it felt like to be left with questions while they sought comfort elsewhere. They imagined how humiliating it may have felt to watch another woman receive the attention you had waited for. They understood that what they called confusion may have felt like betrayal to you. And when empathy finally entered the place where excuses once lived, regret became impossible to silence. The other woman can sense that she is losing control of the narrative. She may become more affectionate, more demanding, or more determined to define the relationship publicly. She may seek reassurance through labels, promises, or visible proof. She may try to close every door that could lead back to you. But external pressure cannot repair an internal absence. The harder she tries to secure what is uncertain, the more obvious the uncertainty becomes. This is not because you are interfering. You have not needed to chase, manipulate, or compete. Your absence itself has become the mirror. Without you there to explain, defend, or remind, the person involved has been forced to discover your significance alone. That discovery carries more power than any argument you could have made. But here is the mystery you must hold carefully: the coming reversal may test you as much as it surprises them. When the truth reaches you, old emotions may rise. Part of you may want immediate answers. Part of you may want them to feel the pain you carried. Another part may still long for the tenderness you once imagined. You will need wisdom, because a returning person is not automatically a transformed person. Words can reveal regret, but only actions reveal readiness. Heaven is not asking you to reopen every door. Heaven is asking you to stand in truth when someone finally knocks. You are being prepared to hear something that once would have overwhelmed you. That is why your healing had to begin before the conversation. Had they returned earlier, you might have accepted fragments because you were afraid of losing the connection again. You might have mistaken attention for accountability. You might have ignored your intuition in exchange for temporary relief. But now you are becoming capable of listening without abandoning yourself. This is the reversal no one expected. The woman who believed she had taken your place may soon realize there was never a throne to steal, because your true place was not beside a confused person. Your true place was within your own dignity. The person who thought they could replace your energy may soon discover that what they lost cannot be recreated through convenience. And you, who once felt left behind, may become the one who decides whether the past has earned any place in your future. Something huge is waiting beyond this moment, but do not confuse urgency with pressure. You are not being told to act recklessly. You are being shown why the atmosphere around this connection has changed. A confession is forming. A truth is moving toward the surface. A carefully maintained appearance is becoming too difficult to sustain. There is one detail, however, that has not yet been revealed. The person connected to you did not simply begin remembering you by accident. Someone recently spoke about you. Your name entered a conversation you were never meant to know about, and what was said caused a reaction that could no longer be hidden. The woman who thinks she took your place was present when it happened. She saw the expression change. She heard the silence that followed. And in that instant, she understood something that no one had ever admitted to her. But what she did next has set the reversal into motion. And when you discover the choice she made after hearing your name, you will finally understand why everything is about to change.